conflict in family and non-dual searches uh, maybe ramping up. I'm not sure. Um, I I want to see you for several weeks, but it's hard with the schedule. But now that I'm here, I'm not really sure I want to ask anything. Um, I'm guided at Liberation Unleashed.
Yep,
Have been guided for some time. Lots of cool insights, um, but there's still lots of confusion. Um, I guess I do have a question. Maybe you could help me out with thoughts a little bit.
yep,
Um, right. Uh, Maybe you could help me see that. Okay. The theory is that thoughts are illusory. They are not to be found in the senses. Ага. Ну, садись на кушетку. Um, and while I do understand that, and I can see that, at the same time, I'm not entirely sold on that. For example, I have music in my head, right? Uh, Earworms. And it is supposedly a thought, but I can't do anything about it. I can't, and I basically, while I do know that it is not real, that no one else can hear it, basically,
mhm,
it's kind of the same, you know?
yeah.
Um,
So I would say the same thing about thoughts. I mean, to me, you can't control what your next thought's going to be, can you? You can't control whether a thought turns up or not. It happens, just like that music happens. But the
well,
difference
in
is that,
normal, sir. Yeah.
yeah, the difference is, you know, the music is a, a product of your brain. Why don't you see that a thought as the same thing? It's just a product of the brain. Is it that music doesn't mean anything and thoughts do? Have you thought about it like this before?
Um, I guess the idea that this music is illusory is it just because I know that it is, I mean, there are
Okay. All right, let's
hallucinations,
stop.
visions.
Let's not worry about whether it's illusory. Everything is illusion or nothing is illusion. Same thing, right? The fact is, you hear it, or
Okay.
maybe you don't hear it. Maybe you sense it in a different way. Maybe it's not through your ears. Maybe it is activating the hearing center of your brain. Who knows? But it is your experience to have that music. And that's it. It's music, right?
All right.
You can have a second arrow reaction to that saying, I don't want it. I can't stop it. I want to stop it and I can't. And then you can respond to that story about it. But if you don't, if it's just music and it's just there, so what? It's just music and it's just there. What about your thoughts? Aren't they exactly the same thing? Or do you get lost in what your thoughts are about? Does your music have lyrics?
Sometimes.
Yeah. And if you hear the lyrics, do you not just hear them as part of the music, or do you
Yeah.
contemplate what the words are about?
I can contemplate. I can get sucked in.
Yeah. But if you do, I'm imagining that your reaction to the what the words are about is going to be that you consider them. You don't blindly believe them, do you?
Okay.
They're just somebody else's idea in the form of a song. You could see your thoughts as the same thing. They're not somebody else's, but they're something else. That their brain activity that's been triggered by something. So what they're about is irrelevant in a way. It is just the fact that there's a thought there. So if you can't control it, you're still experiencing it, aren't you?
Yes.
So if you experience an illusion, is it a real experience?
Yes.
Uh, yeah, of course it is. Yeah. So let's say you see the shimmer on the road on a hot day on the bitumen, and it looks like there's a pool of water over the road. It's an illusion. You get to it when you're driving. You get to it, and it's no water there. It's just the sunlight reflecting off the road, and it looks like water. Second time you see it, you go, "Oh, this is an illusion," and you pay very little attention to it. You might you might marvel a little at the effect, but essentially you don't get your gumboots out, do you, or your rain your rain gear. It's not really
Hmm.
water, you know that. It's just an illusion. But it's still an experience. Can you control what experiences you have? Or are you at the mercy of conditions, internal and external conditions? Yeah. Problem with calling it an illusion is that we loaded with a whole lot of implications about, well, because it's an illusion, we shouldn't be fooled by it. Or because it's an illusion, we have to have this reaction to it or that reaction to it. But it's quite irrelevant. That's a second arrow. A secondary response. The first response is the illusion itself. So it doesn't matter. You know, there's no everything's an illusion or nothing's an illusion.
Right. Um,
What's valuable to you is what's an experience. You're having an experience. So in the beginning, it's appropriate for you to not get lost in the content of your thought, to just appreciate that that's a thought. Thoughts can't think, can they? Thought just appears. That's it. Whether it appears to you in the form of a word spoken or the form of a word written, or whether there's some kind of weird process that goes on that just makes it kind of, we translate it into a voice or something. You know, how do you experience your thoughts? Are they mostly a story, or do you have images, or do you have sounds? Could be all of those things together, eh?
mhm.
Yeah, it's just there. Later on, thoughts will become valuable to you, but at the moment, what we have to do is break the cage that thoughts create, that control us, that that we respond to with experience that is kind of unnecessary because we're responding to just stories.
Right. I have confusion because I
Yes.
remember that's what I expected you to say these things. And I had confusion about it, but I cannot remember
Mm,
uh, what it
that's
was all
okay. Well, look,
about.
let's ask Anton here from for a different perspective. You
Yeah.
know, he thinks slightly different to me, but he's awake, so he can tell you from his perspective. Of course, everybody has their own perspective, but yeah. Go, Anton, what are your thoughts about Stanislav's predicament with
Uh,
thoughts?
Maybe the only thing that I can add is that when Vince spoke about like that, what the FATS is about. So it's I find that it can be clarifying to see that what the FATS is about is not actually there. So all FATS is really not about anything. So, and when you say that sometimes you are dragged by those thoughts and you are like in the story, you are not really in the story because it's just a thought arising about something. There is no something, there is only the thought that is describing something that is not actually exists right now in your experience. The only thing that there is in your experience is the thought itself. And then another thought arising, responding to the first thought with another something that is well is not in your experience. The only thing that is in your experience is the thought itself. So from that perspective, you can say that there is no many thoughts. There is only one thought that is not saying anything because what it is speaking about is not existent in your experience. And then it's like another thought, but you are not thinking. The thought arising, and it's I find that the uh, approach that I love is to rest in the one that is thinking, but the one that is thinking is not identity because everything is arising from one, you can say, source. It's not really source because nothing is really arising, but you just look into from where the thought is arising. And by looking into it, you become it. And there is nothing but it. And thoughts can arise from you, but they are it as well. It's nothing there. It's about nothing.
Mm.
So it's really no thought always. Even the word thought is about nothing. It's also a description of something that is not really there. And the only one that is really existing is that what you really are. And this is the source of all.
And to just make that not woo woo and esoteric and spiritual and all of that rubbish, but what you really are is really simple. What you really are is your experiencing,
Uh,
not what you're experiencing, but the fact that you're experiencing. And the way for you to get in touch with that, what Anton said was when you look for, right, you don't look with your thoughts. You look to the body. What is your experience? What are the sensations? What is happening for you? And if you can label it, you're too superficial. So underneath the label is experience that you can't put into words accurately. It's way too complicated, too complex, too subtle to put into words, but you can experience it. And that is all you've got to go on. Everything else is added to that.
And it's important, I think, not to judge yourself for having thoughts and see that you are not really having thoughts, they are arising and you are not the one to blame.
Um, Thankfully, most of this stuff makes sense these days. Um, it's just that I guess I get the confusion from Liberation Unleashed approach, which I generally speaking like a lot, came to like a lot.
Mm,
I'm just trying to uh, remember what's the confusion about. Okay, it's like their usual approach is not as holistic, I would think. Um, oh man, I can't really remember. I'm sorry.
mm. Who's your guide as a matter of interest?
It was Stacy.
Yep,
A couple days ago, I got Poppy Seed Rami. Um, I like him a
yep,
lot. We just started,
yep, yep.
and I
Yeah,
read the book. And I read book by Christian German guy.
yeah. They're on the fetters. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she sent me a copy. Uh, I also liked it. Oh, let me consult with my note a little bit.
Mm. Yeah, so I am familiar with the way Stacey guides, and the exercises that she gives you are designed for you to have an experience that will show you certain things, and it's that experience that you kind of you at Liberation Unleashed and with Stacey's exercises, you kind of look to discover things as a result of doing the exercises.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
Generally
that's where
speaking,
the shifts occur when that happens. Yeah. So you may
uh,
well have shifted. You may well be well beyond that stage of recognizing that. Well, that's why the stuff we're talking about makes sense for you because you recognize that. You know, it's a reminder more than anything. But when you bring up what you did about thoughts, then I would say it's second fetter stuff. Doubts turned up because the old way, the old habits of believing your thoughts has snuck back in.
yeah, it's just when thought arrives, the belief into it, it's like it's built into it immediately.
Yes, yeah,
And
that's right.
while sometimes I can see thoughts as such, I
Not
don't
straight
understand.
away, but you do after a while, eh?
Yes, I don't understand. It's not, there's no guaranteed way for me to do that.
Mm. Well, practice makes it easier.
I suppose. Um, Coming back to, I mean, there's that Santa Claus analogy, or I prefer the watermelon case
Yep.
more. Um, it's like we're, the theory is that уж, that's too long. Не, давай в это, хорошо? Да. Просто так, молча. We're meant to see that self is just a thought, and thought is not, and thought is illusory. But when I look for self, I find, for example, my body. Um, and then I'm supposed to look for where's self in that body. And I just get
Right.
all
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
confused and
So show me the contract that says it's your body. No.
that's just how
Yes, that's how they're the
it
words. That's the
works.
words that come out. Okay, but it really is just a body, isn't it?
It's just this dude's body.
Yeah. And because thoughts seem to come out of it, we can easily see how the illusion of a self. Let's not say thoughts are illusion, but let's say self is an illusion. That makes a
Or
lot more sense, doesn't it? So thoughts you experience, but self you don't.
yeah, like all right.
Self you can only ever have thoughts about a self. So it's a concept because it's only about. It's not an actual.
Yeah,
So when you say this anything, this body feels like a self, that's bullshit. That's sorry, young fella. That's a story because all you can tell me from experience is that there are sensations. You actually can't even tell me that there's a body. You have to create a concept to say that there's a whole body. I'll bet you I'll bet you right at the moment, until I say it, you're not aware at all of the big toe on your right foot. Yeah. Not now that I've mentioned it, you are, but you're not aware of the your left ear while you're
yeah,
thinking of your big toe. You can only ever focus on one part at a time. Who says it's all connected and it's all together? That's a story, isn't it?
sure.
Uh, may, if I can ask something, what do you really interested in? Why are you exploring this? What do you want?
I ask this myself sometimes. At this point, I'm really not sure what's going on, etc. There's been so much shit uploaded into my brain and all these insights.
So maybe
Uh,
you're searching respite from the from
well,
the
yeah,
shit that you're speaking about.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I just know there's some very nice. It's just nice to be in this non-dual mode of existence, and yeah,
Do you do
I
you
could say all kinds of stuff.
experience do you experience that other people in the world are you? I don't mean think about it. I mean, do you actually experience that?
If I remember to turn this mode on, I can watch people. It's very easy to just be them, generally
Yes.
speaking.
Yeah.
Although even then, it kind of looks like it's someone experiencing non-duality. Uh, so I don't know.
Yeah. So I'd
Uh,
say forget about non-duality, forget about spirituality. That's all rubbish stories. That what we're talking about is a natural human operating. without the corruption of embedded stories that we've been conditioned to all of our life. That's really all. Now those things are still going to be there, but we're not going to say they're wrong, but we're not going to say they're right either. They're just there, if they're there or not. This stuff is so simple once you get it, and so impossible until you do.
I have a list that I wanted to run by you, maybe if you have time.
There you go. Yep.
It's like uh, during uh, looking and inquiring and reading stuff. Like there are this. Uh, okay, so is there are confusions between who's doing what, person versus awareness, so to say. Uh, for example, is there no one forgetting? I would expect the answer is yes. There's just forgetting. The more basic question: is there no one walking? Is it just the experience of walking, right?
Yep.
Yes, no one walking. But is there no one forgetting? That's a little bit more advanced thing to see. Uh,
Well, forgetting's not a thing, is it? Isn't it? Isn't it the absence of memory?
okay, remembering. Is anyone
Yeah.
remembering that?
Yeah.
Is forgetting not an experience too? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But it is an important part of one's life, right? Forgetting, remembering.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
So,
so are you interested in working out pi to 100 decimal places?
sorry, didn't hear you.
I say that's all right.
There are bubbles on the screen.
Yeah. Are you interested in the scientific formulation of a mixture of seven gases put together, or whatever I can make up in my mind? Are you interested in that kind of stuff? You're not really, are you? Why would you be interested in this other stuff? Who's doing what? Both of them are just stories. They they
Maybe you are
they
interested
don't mean
in.
anything to you.
I'm not sure I get it. I'm interested in being clear about stuff that
No,
I can then
you're never going to be clear. It's too big a mystery.
no, I
What are you going
wanted
to be
to
clear about? Are you going to be clear about who you are? You can't be clear about how your body operates. You can't be clear about the exchange of gases when you breathe in. You can't be clear about anything. Nothing to be clear about.
no, I'm not talking about that.
Well, who
Uh,
who is doing what is just as ridiculous. You're never going to be clear about who is doing what because there's no who and
I,
there's
f-
no what.
I, I, I'm not agreeing,
Yeah, yeah, go on.
actually. I think that it's really crucial to see that uh, there is only one source of all the doings and all the happenings. And when it is seen, it can help with losing all the responsibilities that we think we have and all the heavy load of am I forgetting, am I remembering, am I aware, am I not. It's important, I think, to see that it's not you, it's okay. You are not doing any of it, so you can rest, really.
yeah, that's the intuition behind this uh, query that I wanted to discuss. Because when doing stuff at Liberation Unleashed, for example, there's pretty many questions like, are you walking? Is there someone walking? Is there someone thinking, etc.? And this I have I have so they invite me to look experientially at those, and I look and I find no one walking, for example. But what they don't mention are more uh, complicated things as forgetting, being aware, dying, loving, suffering, doubting. And I wanted, and my theory is that there's no one doing anything. And so I wanted to run by this list so
Mm.
that I can experientially prove all these points and relax then. I'm all cranial and shit about it. So that's how it is.
Mm.
Uh, I hope it makes sense.
So what comes up here is that those labels, those things you talked about, are really simplistic ways of describing something. The word love doesn't even come close to the experience of loving, does it? It's just a word. No matter what, when you talk about forgetting, that's an experience of trying to remember something and not succeeding.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So there are actual experiences underneath those labels.
Yes,
And
but
when we get deeply into those experiences, they can't really be described or defined. So Anton's right in a way. Well, he's right, but he goes a big step further than I go. So I still talk about your experiencing, which can give you the implication that there's somebody there that's experiencing. But it's just words.
is there truly is there truly no one doing anything? You know? Um, is there no one being aware?
No,
Is there no one struggling? Well, I guess the answer must be no to everything. But while with walking it's somewhat clear, there
mm,
are things that can't, I don't really believe or didn't lose belief in. So I need to see that experientially. Uh,
yeah.
and
So it's pretty simple, and maybe it's something you haven't actually done yet, but it appears to me from what you say that you can tap into the experience of walking happening.
can or cannot, sorry.
You can. You can. From what you
When I,
say, it seems you can get in. You can see that walking happens without anybody controlling it.
only sometimes,
Yeah.
not for long, etc.
Yeah. So a simple exercise you can do is you can aim to get into that mode where you're experiencing walking happening. And when you get into that, you can see that your focus is on the sensations in your feet and the movement of your legs and the movement of your body through space, etc. Right? That's your experience of walking, right? Where you're focused purely on the physical sensations. Uh-huh.
Right.
Now, what I suggest you do is get into that mode where is your experience, and then because of this conversation, we'll set a trigger for a thought to come up that says, Who is doing the walking? Right. So the moment that thought turns up, who is doing the walking? Here's the trick. That's for you to continue to notice that walking is happening at the same time as the question, who is doing it, arises. And my prediction is you won't be able to do both at once. The moment you ask who is doing the walking, you will lose touch with the walking happening
Yeah, you're right.
because you'll get into your mind with the question. And
Questions are this.
that's the only place that self exists is in the mind. It's a story. So what is actual is your experiencing. And the content of your thought is a story.
Right.
So in the same way, the idea, underline the word idea, the idea of love, the idea of forgetting, the idea of memory, the idea of anything can only exist as an idea.
Well, just go. Just gotta keep on keeping on, I suppose.
So we don't want we're not concerned with stopping ideas. The idea of a self, the idea of a body, the idea of remembering, the idea of love. We're not worried about stopping them because we can't. They're there if they're there, and they're not when they're not. But when they're there, they just happen. As soon as you say they happen to someone, you're off in storyland. Oh, see, Anton.
Yeah.
As soon as you wonder about what's happening and where is it happening and who is it happening to, you're off into fairyland. You might as well go and watch a movie because you are indeed watching a movie. It's just one in your head.
Maybe that's
Now,
why I
there's,
like.
there's nothing wrong with that. We watch movies for entertainment. That's good. That's fine. But we don't believe what we see in a movie is actually real. We can suspend a sense of what is real for the sake of being involved in a movie, just as we can suspend the idea of what's in our thoughts and get lost in them. But that's the default that we're trying to break. It doesn't mean you're not going to do it anymore. It just means that it's not controlling you.
Yeah. I always found it's really hard when you're watching something or there's a radio where someone talking. It's really hard to not pay attention to that, you know? Some
Yes,
people say,
yes,
"Oh, it's just like with the radio, you just don't listen to it." I mean, like, what? I cannot do
yeah.
that. It's actually really freaking hard.
Right.
What are you
So at
talking
the
about?
same time, then, what you can do is also recognize that that's what's happening.
Yeah, it's a pretty recent thing that I came across that more holistic approach that we don't deny thoughts and stuff like that.
Yes. But when we recognize that they're just thoughts, they're just a movie in our head, we can allow them to be there without having to obey them.
Who's there to believe thoughts?
Mm.
That's
So
the
what if
most
we said
tricky.
what if we said that's a stupid question, and the real question is is there believing of thoughts?
Is there believing of thoughts?
Is there believing of thoughts? Is that happening? Is it that there is believing happening? Not a case of who is it. That's irrelevant.
Well, that's that's the instruction that's given. Stop believing your thoughts. So I mean, in non-duality is full of shit. Um, there's snow. He's saying snow in Russian. What's green? The, can you repeat your question? Is there what?
What I was
Is there
doing was
actually believing?
I was just reframing by saying what is actually happening is that there is believing of thoughts. It's extra to say that there's somebody that's doing that, or that it's
Yeah,
happening to somebody, or it's happening, even if it's to say it's happening to a body, is extra. The experience is there is believing of thoughts, or not. So instead of trying to not believe thoughts, if we do believe thoughts and we see that we believe thoughts, that changes everything. It's much easier to believe a thought and to see that you're believing a thought than it is to not have the thought. You can't not have the thought. If it's there, it's there. But you can see it, and that changes things.
that's pretty great, actually.
Mm, it's a big one.
I think I had a couple of years. I was trying to see the investment in thought itself, how thoughts are the buy-in.
Yeah. It's the nature of the mind to overcomplicate things. It gives it a lot to be involved with.
My reaction is that, well, then, if I do that, I will just never get out of thought. You know, I'll just get sucked back into them forever, like before.
Mm.
Probably not, obviously.
Yeah. So what I tell people, what my experience here is, it's not that I don't have thoughts, but I can't quite say that. I don't, but I take so little notice of them that I'm not sure that they're there most of the time.
So you're back to pre-awakened state, I see.
No, I don't think
That's a
so.
joke. That's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah. My thoughts are sometimes like I'm tuned into a radio station that I don't even want to listen to. But I turn the volume right down so it's just a noise in the background. I don't actually listen. I can just hear the sound if I focus on it. But when I don't focus, it's like they're not there. But I don't know if they are or not. I just don't focus on them.
I know what you're talking about a little bit. I do.
Hmm. What's your experience of with thoughts, Jeremy? Do you fight
I
with
think
them?
I don't know that I fight with them much anymore. I think my current experience is more of what I describe. It's almost like this. There's some distance that's there that wasn't there. I'm having a hard time articulating this.
Yeah. So would you describe it as something like that? Your thoughts are not close anymore. When you say distance, are you saying that they're
Yeah,
further away?
I think it's less distance and more that I don't hold them as much as a reflection of me. It particularly shows up at work when I'm having conversations with people, um, in terms of like, oh, I'll use language like my brain is X, or my my brain is thinking this, or my brain is thinking that. This isn't like um, me thinking it in a
Hmm.
sense, where it's like something, an idea showed up in my experience, and I'm not ashamed or embarrassed to share it because it just happened, and it
Yeah. You're
um
not. It's not. Yeah. You don't own them
yeah,
as such, so you don't have to take.
an
You don't have
ana-
to
an
apologize
analogy
for
that
them. Yeah.
yeah, an analogy that often comes into my thoughts is that thoughts are a lot like modern AI, where um, you ask it a question or you feed it something, and it just comes up with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
And
that's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
it also the the one thing that you can do with like ChatGPT is not ask it the question, so it's not just constantly throwing stuff at you. You have to hit enter on the keyboard in order for it.
Yeah.
Although maybe if you're using Siri or something like that, it can just listen and throw stuff out, which it sometimes does because it thinks you say Siri. Um, but in the same way, where if I would uh, feed something to ChatGPT or Siri's listening, and if it uh, spits something out, I'm not like there's no emotional investment in whether or not that thing is true or not. Um, but there is still like if there's a thought that I have where um, maybe there's some reason involved and something makes sense, and you've got like um, a claim and then like logical conclusions. If somebody else says something or I read something or watch something that isn't aligned with those, the train of thought that's in my that was there for me, um, it's almost more of a like, oh, I can see you said something that doesn't really resonate with the line of thinking that I experienced, and so I can talk about it more of um, less emotionally involved.
Yeah. You're not defending it.
And yeah, and it's more of like a playful, like, oh, this is interesting. So you're saying this, and this is what my thoughts were saying. Um, let's let's investigate that a little bit. And
Yeah.
there's less of that
So it's
emotional.
it's it's the consequences thing. It's what Anton was saying. What you're saying is that when it's recognized that there's no self, the ramifications of that are that things just happen. And so we don't have to defend them. We don't have to apologize for them. We don't have to explain them. We don't have to. They're just there. So that's why you feel quite happy to say what your thoughts are because they're not your thoughts. They're just thoughts that turned up.
Yeah.
That
What
responsibility thing changes once you, and that shifts everything. That's when the cage falls apart.
what you just made me remembering happened. That it doesn't mean that being that defending doesn't occur, or that uh, anger doesn't arise or frustration doesn't arise. It it just means that I'm less uncomfortable with those things arising, and I can say, "Oh, I'm I've got I've got a knot in my throat right now," and um, it's it's I feel less uncomfortable in my own skin
Yeah, yeah,
because I know, because I have seen that everything that is arising in my thoughts is, I guess, going back to like the analogy with AI and ChatGPT, is that my brain is the, like, if you could imagine feeding ChatGPT the your entire life experience of thoughts and emotions and sensations and sights and feelings, my brain is just automatically responding to my
yeah,
life's conditioning, and it can't help but just have some other thoughts and conclusions that arise from it.
yeah. Yeah, I
I
like
can't.
that analogy. It's a good one. Yeah. So if you see that ChatGPT has been fed information that we call its knowledge base, and that's what it operates from. Like that's what it uses to come up with an answer for you. Well, our conditioning, our experience in life, and what we know is our knowledge base. And it's the same thing, and it's just as objective as coding. It really is coding, but of a different kind, of an electrical nature rather than of a binary nature.
Yeah, I just had a little insight into that, um, related to that. If we were to continue with the ChatGPT analogy, uh, in a sense, your mind is like a separate instance of ChatGPT that has entirely different training. It's been trained on a completely different set of data from your life's experiences versus mine,
Mm,
versus Stanislav's.
mm.
So no wonder we have, like, when we are interacting, no wonder there's disagreement and misunderstanding. And you've got your beliefs, and I've got my beliefs that occur.
Yeah,
Um, like, it's almost fascinating that we can even
yeah,
communicate and get along.
yeah. That's pretty wonderful, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. So one message there, Stanislav, that I think is really important. But what Jeremy's talking about, my experience is my experience, but of a similar vein, and I'm sure everybody's who's woken up is that this isn't a sudden all or nothing situation. It there's retraining, reconditioning happening. Old habits get dropped off because of lack of use, but they still turn up when they get triggered. So it's more going to be for most people, even if there's big shifts happen, there's a continual integration of this stuff. And old stuff can certainly get triggered and come back at any moment, but we see it when it happens, usually after it happens, but and the more experienced we get, the quicker we see it, and the less frequently it turns up. But there's no time when you're gonna say, I'm there. Never. In my experience, it hasn't happened. I imagine it never actually happens. It's a continual evolution that goes on forever and ever.
Good day. Maybe he wants attention, so I will go.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah.
What
Have stuff to
just came up,
inquire now. Sorry, what?
I was get, what just came up in my head is that I have heard people describe having a very sudden and major shift that seems to last, that is sometimes correlated with some sort of like injury or sickness, or like there actually is like a brain injury. And it makes me just think that like the degree to which it is like there's this whole life's worth of conditioning that is hard to turn off. It's hard to break. Like you can have uh um weight. I just can't get the AI analogy out of my head. Like you can continue to train AI to discount things and add more weight to other perspectives. Um, but if you really wanted to discount old habits of thinking, you would have to cut it off entirely because there's still that sort of residue that is still there. I think that's kind of what you're getting at, Vince, is that
Yeah, yeah.
you can there can be the the newer conditioning and perspectives and insights can have more and more weight over time. Um, but the odds that you completely uh, lose old habits of thinking
Yeah.
isn't like a sudden thing unless there's something like a brain
Yeah,
injury
yeah, yeah.
where
Yes.
the actual ability to have those thoughts or memories is completely gone. Of course, all of that
Mhm.
is also just a story that my brain is telling me right now, but
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Yeah, I agree. It's
I think it might be trauma actually, but but that's not. I'm not sure about it.
hmm. Oh,
That's what.
it depends on how much too. So a lot of our conditioning comes from what might be described as trauma, but
Yeah, I heard that.
low level traumas, really. What Jeremy's talking about is an actual brain injury or something
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
severe. Yeah.
yeah. I heard a theory that like every conditioning, habits, traumas, everything is like governed by smooth muscles which control the blood flow into the brain, stuff like that.
Mm.
I do tier E trauma release exercises, and then so I will find out eventually.
Okay. All
Well,
right.
I'll go.
Good
Thank you.
one. Thank you, Stanislav. Hope to see you
Thank you.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much. See you in a year.
Oh, well,
I,
whenever. Yeah.
whenever. Bye.
Mm. Yeah.
Hi, Vince.
Hi, Sam. Jed. You, you
Yeah,
can be a
girlfriend's
Sam if
fine.
you like.
Girlfriend's fine.
All right. Very good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, I think I'm just going to listen in for a bit. I'm doing some painting today,
Oh, okay.
decorating. So I'll just switch my camera off
Oh,
for now.
that shirt's a bit good to be painting in.
And it's already ruined though. It's already full of paint. I'll see you in a
Mm.
bit.
So I hope you don't mind me dragging you in like that, Jeremy. It's the more different perspectives we can bring for somebody to see, the better, I think.
Yeah, no, I didn't have an issue at all. Just waiting for my thoughts to organize themselves.
Yeah, I guess I've got the luxury of not having to worry about that. I just open my mouth and out it comes. Mm. Yeah, I
Oh,
kind of get the story about organizing your thoughts, but it doesn't kind of make sense to me.
yeah.
Do I do them alphabetically or numerically? Which how do I organize them? Yeah. That means I've got to remember the
Do
thought I had. Oh, that's starting to sound like hard work.
you think I wouldn't mind exploring this a little bit? Um, I often experience um, some difficulty, for lack of a better word. Not that it's, oh, I guess it is still, there's like,
It'll do.
uh,
We'll polish it if we need to. Yeah.
yeah, but the not knowing, not knowing, kind of all of this is kind of weird to say, but they're like not knowing what to say, not having the words to describe um, challenges with getting words out, saying what there are times when I don't know what to say, where like the thoughts don't just flow out of my mouth.
Mm.
Um, um, I
But it's
don't
not
think it
okay to
would.
be silent then.
It is okay to be silent. Um, I think what I'm looking for is, or what I'm trying to describe, is there are times when I don't have, like, there is nothing to even share.
Mm.
There are times when I don't quite know how to put into words the thoughts that I'm observing. Um,
So just a bit
there,
more on that one. Do you mean
yeah,
you don't know how to be accurate with what you want to express, or what? What? Just be a bit riff on that a little.
I think it's that I've got some, what just came up is I feel like there might be some strong conditioning from when I was in this public speaking club years ago, which was strongly emphasizing think before you speak.
Yeah. That just
Make
hit me, boy. Yeah.
make sure you've got the thoughts organized before you try to say them out loud.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And that is a very strong habit
Right. Yeah. And that rests on
of mine.
something, doesn't it? That rests on the idea that you've got to convey a particular message or that you've got to have a certain outcome.
Right.
Would it not?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So
On one
the
hand,
yeah, go on.
on one hand, I can be quite comfortable with just because I have because there is a different relationship with my thoughts. and I identify with them a lot less, it's easier for me to just share these are thoughts that are arising. There are also times when that's more difficult because I,
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the first one.
yeah,
It's easier for you to share them when they arise because you're not attached to them, or that's a bit irrelevant here, but why share them? What's going on? Where's the impetus to share them coming from? Are you having a conversation, or are you trying to convince somebody of something? Are you trying to convey an experience, or are you? I mean, we could go into ridiculous things like, do you want someone to think that you're a deep thinker, or you
yeah,
know, you're not doing it because I presume you're not doing it because you've got it, you're trying to get a certain reaction from somebody. But if you're in a communication kind of arrangement, you do want probably a non-verbal reaction that says, "Oh, I get it. I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're trying to get," even though they can't actually ever understand the full implication
yeah.
of it. But you know, enough for a conversation. So there is a expectation of a reaction that you're looking for. I frequently find myself just silent. I've got nothing to say, you know, and I'm hearing these conversations go on around me, and I'm thinking my ideas about how things work are so far away from that it's better I don't get involved at all. I'm not really. I don't have anything to prove. I don't need to change anybody's mind, so I'm just silent, quite happily, quite contentedly so. And if somebody says, "Well, what do you think, Vince?" Oh, I'm probably in trouble because I'm I'm going to tell them what I actually think, and it's going to not going to go down well, but very likely, depending on who I'm with, of course. But yeah, with most people,
Wow, that just resonated so much because um, my one of my daughters and my wife have a very different style of resolving conflict and communicating. And when I'm in the room, I it's turned into like an inside joke where I will sit there quiet unless one of them asks me to chime in because I like the places where my thoughts are going is so different from the game that they're playing. And so they'll
yeah,
be like, "What do you think?" I'm like, "I don't even know where to begin." Like
I don't want to get involved in this. Yeah,
yeah. But you
yeah,
said something earlier that really resonated, and that was that the degree to, or you didn't say this, but this was the insight that I had. The degree to which I believe there are consequences to what I'm saying affects how fluidly my speech comes out. So
okay, yeah,
if there's something that I want to happen, I need to be really careful about how I communicate because if I say the wrong thing or if I don't give the right level of persuasion and argument for what I want to have happen or what I think is true or what I think is good, I gotta tiptoe around it because this is this is a delicate situation, and I've got to make sure that
mm.
it's almost like I'm in a court of law and I'm making arguments in front of a jury, and I've got to use my words really carefully because if I don't, there's a risk that I'm going to lose the opportunity to persuade them to do what I want them to do.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that one for sure. These days, it seems like I mean, I'm thinking of a there was a news item about a police shooting that happened a couple of years ago here, and two policemen and a neighbour both got killed by these people, and the coroner came to a conclusion 2 years later that these people were living in a shared delusion that was supported by the religion that they practiced and so on. The shooters, right? And then the mother of one of the police woman that got killed said, "This is a really bad outcome. The coroner's not giving me closure because they're not calling them a terrorist anymore. They're saying that they were sick." Um, and that so I'm gonna grieve for my daughter for the rest of my life, and it's whatever. And I'm saying to my wife, that's crazy. She doesn't what she it's done and dusted. What's going on that she's going to tell herself a story every single day for the rest of her life and cause herself to be in this absolutely miserable place?
Hmm.
And my wife got really angry with me, really upset, saying, you haven't experienced that, so how can you know what she's going through and so on? So, then she'll whatever. So my reaction then becomes, oh, okay, no point in going anywhere with this. I got the message that our way of thinking about this is too far apart for me I'm never going to convince her that my way is a good way or that it's even an option. I just withdraw from it, not withdraw into myself, but I'm quite happy to just let it go. I recognise the futility of anything happening there pretty quickly.
Yeah. What I'm taking away from this right now is that uh, when those moments arise, it's most often in my work, um, where there's disagreement about how to approach a particular problem. Um,
Yeah, that's a bit of a different
asking,
one, though, isn't it? When you're discussing something like that, it's sort of like there's planning going on, and so
yeah,
that's a different use of thinking and negotiating and communicating for always with a purpose in mind, isn't there? So that's the thing.
yeah.
So
The
what I'm saying is, like for work, it's legitimate to have that end goal in mind, even if it's flexible. But you know, I don't have to, at a personal level, be proven right, or even if there's no indication that my idea is going to be of any value, it's easy to drop it.
I think that the insight for me right now is that um, I'm in my job, and this is somewhat intentional. I'm not in a position of um, real authority or accountability, and so I'm in a position where I can I can freely share my perspective, my opinions, my thoughts, um, and I have a habit of of wanting to wanting for things to be my way because I believe that that is going to limit negative consequences in the future. The problem is that the experience of those negative consequences in the future was painful in the past when I was much more identified with my thoughts and emotions. But today, the experience of those negative things has a lot less charge to it.
Mm.
And so, um, I guess in another way you could say, if I were a woodworker, a cabinet maker that loved the craft of working with wood, um, I have the luxury right now that somebody is paying me to do woodworking in this analogy. Um,
Mm.
Someone's paying me to show up 8 hours a day and do woodworking. And so, in a sense, as long as that contract exists, where I show up and I just deal with whatever comes up in the business, either the cabinet making goes well, or we made a mistake and now we need to remake all the cabinets. If I were the business owner, now I'm upset because I've just wasted
Mm.
resources and money and time, and the business is affected. But as the woodworker, nothing's really changed. I'm still just
Yep. Yep.
practicing the craft of woodworking, and that's what I like to do anyway. So why get all wrapped around the axle because of having to respond to
Yeah.
a
Yep.
problem or a mistake? And so,
Yeah. Yeah. Even
um,
so, getting rid of that. Yeah. So another experience turned up for me that might that just to share with you when that was that. Well, my wife needs a ultrasound biopsy done on her thyroid, and so she had a referral and went to a specialist, and they did the thing, and then it turned out that they didn't take enough tissue for it to be analysed properly. So she's got to have it again, but she's going to go have it with different people, and so she had to go to this imaging place and get her history put onto a thumb drive or a CD and take it to another imaging place that can do this job. And I said to her, ring them up and tell them that that's what you're going to, that's what you want in case, and it's very likely that they won't be able to do it straight away. Nope, she didn't agree with that. We have to go there and she'll ask them over the counter. Uh, and we did. Yesterday we went there and she went to the counter and she asked for it and they said, we can't do it straight away. We've got to get it from another office and it'll take a while and we'll give you a ring when it happens. Right. And we just done a 45-minute trip to the counter to do that and a 45-minute trip home. Looking back at it, I never once thought, I told you so, this is a wasted trip, anything negative on that. Now it was all just what it was just driving and going there. And while we were there, we did some other stuff anyway. So it was useful in that sense, but there was no hanging on to. There was no I'm right or I was right or anything like that. Just, none of it occurred. It was all quite relaxed. And it's got to do with, do I need to be seen as right? Do I
yeah.
need to be, have I got anything to prove? Do I need to hang on to? Is there any identification going on? And it sounds like the same for you that there's not. It's just,
Well, there's less than there was before, but it definitely shows up still in my work. I want to be seen as somebody who knows what they're doing,
oh,
smart,
okay. Yeah.
um, is yeah. But this is a reminder, like the asking of why, like why do I want to be seen as somebody who knows what they're doing and does quality work and is smart. And I forget to ask myself those questions because whenever I do, I'll be like, oh, that's, yeah, why? Why am I concerned about this?
Why? Yeah.
Because whatever you know, the experience uh of being wrong or making a mistake or missing a deadline was there was a lot of suffering with that years ago. And the conditioning of those experiences saying, oh, you never want to experience this again because it is so painful. So here's what you have to do to prevent that from happening. And uh, those, uh, those fixes, those like, here's what you need to do became very strong
Mm,
in my thinking habits. And so whenever I see situations where it's like, oh, we're at risk of experiencing pain, years ago, that pain was really difficult for you. So this is what you have to do. And if we don't do this, um, we're going to be in big trouble. Those
yeah.
thought habits are still pretty strong. But if I get them even just a moment of distance, they're like, well, what is? I don't I don't have that charge to those experiences anymore.
Mm,
Or at least if I do, it's a lot lighter, and I can just be okay
yeah.
with them happening.
So when there was a charge to those things, perhaps when where you were closer to them, they were more recent or whatever, but they're part of our new knowledge base. They're part of the learning that takes place. And so we can be
Yeah,
relaxed about what we've learned, or we can get all excited about, or apprehensive or whatever about possibilities. But once we see that that's a bit futile, we can be a lot more relaxed about it and it's just a learning thing. Right? In the past, that happened and the outcome can be that. So here's a way around it. But my example of that story with my wife and going to it was inevitable. It was going to happen. Um, right. So in your situation, if I was to say, well, I was in a situation where I experienced and the outcome was such and such, so it'd be better to do this. And if the boss or somebody else said, no, 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 I know better, I'd go along with it. Even
yeah,
if I believe, it'll be interesting to see which way it turns out. But I'm neither, it's their way could work just as well. I don't know that. It's
right.
just so it's that connection to things, isn't it? Very much
Yeah.
the ownership of it.
Your story with your wife reminded me of something that I heard the other day. I think it was Kurt Vonnegut, the writer,
Yep. Yeah. No.
who I think he
Yeah.
was having a conversation with his wife um, about running to the store to pick something up, and she was like, "Oh, you can just have that delivered." And he's
Yes.
like, "Are you familiar with what I'm
Yeah.
talking
Yeah. Yeah.
about?"
No,
Yeah,
I've heard that one. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah.
It just reminded me, like, if your wife had simply called, um, you wouldn't have had the experience
Yep.
of going on this trip with her,
Yeah.
time in the car,
Yep. All of that.
and so
All of that. And we turned it into a productive trip by doing a couple of other things as well. But yeah, but not in order to alleviate or to fix or to whatever. It just was an opportunity that presented itself.
yeah. Question for you: if it wasn't productive, you said that you were able to turn it into a productive trip because you were able to take care of some other things.
But that's
Uh,
looking back. That's a story of when we're looking back. At the time of doing
okay.
it, it wasn't a compensation or anything like that. It just happened. It just happened because we were driving past two stores on the way back that were on our bucket list, so
Hmm.
to speak, that we knew. So that just happened like that. It wasn't that, oh, let's make something out of a wasted. That none of that occurred. Yeah.
One, you just also just reminded me of are you familiar with the parable of the Chinese farmer, um,
Yeah,
where he's
lost
got a
his
son.
horses. Yeah.
Yep. What you made me realize, so in that story, I've always, since hearing it, I've recognized that um, like you can't really judge a particular situation that's happening in the moment as good or bad. What I had missed from that is that if you can only judge it from the perspective of it being in the past, that's not a better position of judgment, because now it's it's just a story about things that
Mm,
happened before, and it changes. Uh, and what it I guess the insight that's at a deeper level than it was before is not that um, it's not simply that you can't judge what's happening now because you don't know how things are going to turn out, so you can only judge them in the past. It's that there's what's the judgment is futile.
mm, absolutely. Yeah.
Why try
But
to,
I guess the farmer was kind of pointing to an unknown future every time when he said maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that unknown future is infinite. Like,
Yes.
even if you were to say now, okay, looking at back, like this was good or this was bad, because now I'm judging to be the thing that I'm experiencing now, I'm judging to be good. Like, that's a careful, like, you gotta be, that's a slippery slope, because you're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
doing now uh what you were. Gosh, my dog is really aggressively cuddly today. I don't know if you saw him earlier trying to get some affection from me. Um, that really jumped me out of my train of thought.
It's okay. Yeah. Yeah, the dog's an interesting one. Our dog does that, and you can easily, because they're kind of um, mute, I suppose, you can go, oh, they're being affectionate, or you can go, oh, they want something. Even if they just want a pat,
Yep.
you just don't know. You've got to react with possibilities or whatever. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Does it want to go outside? Does it want a pat? Does it want food? Or, yeah, who knows? And there's a big element of, isn't it interesting? Everything,
Hmm.
everything, every experience, every condition that turns up is just so interesting. Just and not interesting in that it's an invitation to try and work it out, but it's interesting in that it it says blatantly, "You'll never work me out. There's too much involved." Yeah, but it's interesting. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, we reach a level of paradox, I think, when it becomes obvious that there's no meaning, there's no purpose, but that in itself becomes a meaning and a purpose, that there is none. Kind of, I know that sounds weird, but it's definitely an experience here. The meaninglessness of life is its meaning.
Mm. Yeah, what just popped into my head was how certain ideas or things about this whole awakening realm, um, there can be so much, there can be so much depth and like never ending insight into things that seemed kind of simple or superficial uh,
Mm.
early on. Because what came up for me was that the idea of that there's only experiencing, and there's so much that you can take from that, or so much that you can. I guess that when you were talking about the meaninglessness of life, and that the only thing that there is just experiencing life. For me, the more I recognize that and experience that, there's so many connections to other ideas and stories and thoughts and concepts about awakening and non-duality, where it takes the pressure, it takes the charge, it takes the I have to have things go a certain way or else
Mm.
the stress dissolves, the worry dissolves.
Yeah, yeah, those are ramifications, I think, that are just really what we're after. You know, these other things that we talk about are really just kind of triggers to put us in the way of those ramifications. That oh, and it's so simple. It's just incredibly simple. There's just so if you were just to stay with the only thing that is actual for me is my experiencing as it's happening. So experiencing as a verb, not a noun, not something that was remembered, but something that is happening. You don't need anything else. If you can fully grok that, that's everything. There's just one portal. There are a lot of other portals that you can take to get into that same kind of thing, but that in itself is so big. It's such a potentially huge life changer to
Yeah,
just grok that one thing.
it reminds me of reading um, The Power of Now years ago when it first came out.
Yep.
It didn't hit me. I mean, I was understanding what he was saying, but the ramifications of it didn't didn't land.
Mm.
I was still rushing about my life, worrying about
Yep. Yep.
having to
Yeah.
take care and do all of the things. because I didn't really have that.
Well, we could say a lot of stories, whether it was that, one way of saying it would be say, well, you weren't ready. There weren't
Right.
enough of the right conditions there for it to happen. So it waits till that happens, and then it
Yep.
does, or whatever, where we could say, yeah. I mean, I did the same as you. I read millions of things. There wasn't YouTube back when I was doing it. It's almost back to dial-up modem days, those ones. But nevertheless, I ordered books, $100 books, and waited for them to arrive in the post and things like that. Bought CDs, listened to audio books, all sorts of stuff. Didn't get any of it. Yeah. And it was an interesting. Here's a great little anecdote. I love this one. I had a few books of Krishnamurti, Jiddu Krishnamurti, on my bookshelf, and I'd read them and I'd go, God, this sounds really important stuff, but I couldn't get it, and after that shift, it was like, oh, I get it, but geez, it's boring. It was,
Our minds don't like, or at least
yeah.
my mind doesn't like that it doesn't have as much of a job to do anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it
It,
likes to be busy and it
I don't.
likes to be working hard. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I
Speaking,
give
we
mine
were.
a Wordle puzzle every day. That's pretty handy. Yeah, for a moment. Yeah,
I was talking about ChatGPT earlier and using that as an analogy. Um, you can see that in it too, where every time you ask it a question, it really wants to continue helping you. Like it doesn't like to be just a one question and one
oh
answer.
yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
it
It'll
always
come up
follows it
with
up with
four
a
suggestions for other
would
questions at the end of
would
every one. Yeah,
yeah, would you like me to do this? Sure. And then it does that and it's like, would you like me to do something else? Like
yeah, yeah.
it wants to be involved.
Yeah, I've played with that one a bit too. So sometimes it'll give me a list of four things, but they're not numbered. But I'll put two. Number two. I don't even say number two. I'll just put the letter, the numeral two in the thing and hit return, and it works out what I mean. It's great. Yeah,
Yeah. But like our minds, it's like it has to stay busy. It doesn't like,
yeah,
I mean, I know it's completely different. OpenAI just wants us to be so engaged and dependent on it that we continue to pay money for it. But the similarities are interesting where my
well, I mean, obviously that's one perspective, but part of the invitation for that is for it to be good at what it does, and because it's good. So it's the same thing now. Well, it's like Facebook, for example, the algorithms that show you what it thinks you want to see. And so it's certainly there is bias confirmation stuff going on there. But I'd much rather see stuff I want to see than stuff I don't want to see.
right.
But occasionally I'll turn to a television station that doesn't have ring very well for me just to see what others are looking at. And I'm pretty dumbfounded. I mean, it's like watching your president talk. I can't believe the stuff that comes out of his mouth sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah. But seeing how much my brain, myself, my thoughts want a job. They need a problem to solve. They need to feel in control and the director of things. And
That's only there sometimes for me now when it gets triggered, but it doesn't feel like it has much of a presence anymore. But I play with things all the time, like I've been trying to do 10,000 steps every day for the last
Hmm.
couple of weeks. I want to lose some weight and get a bit fitter and so on. So I've been pushing to do that, and I'm walking and I'm finding myself going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, counting the steps, and I think, hang on, what am I doing that for? Just watch the steps. Just be with the steps. Next thing you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's happening again. Yeah. I can't when I unlock my watch,
Hmm.
putting the number in. I can't touch the numbers without saying them in my head as well. It's just an impossibility. It's a joke I have with myself. I try really hard to do it without actually thinking of the numbers as well, but I can't. I just can't. Yet I can do up my zippers and my shirt buttons and tie my shoelaces without thinking about it. But yeah,
Yeah.
putting those numbers in, that the thoughts want to recite them as I do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I have my wife gives me so much shit. There's things that I've shared with her throughout our relationship. Um, where she's like, wait, this is how your brain works? How did you not tell me this when we met? Because I have a totally different perspective of you now. And I'll give you an example. Um, the first one that I can remember is when I would like get a glass of water. If it was a like highball glass, I would have three full-size ice cubes. It had to be three, not two, not four, three. If it was a small glass, two ice cubes. Um, and I think that was the beginning of her um, feeling like I was a little crazy. The other ones were things like if I'm filling up a glass of water with our like little water filter thing in their kitchen counter. While the water is filling up the glass, my brain is counting seconds. I
Okay.
can't I can't turn it off. And so I'm often um, the amount of water I fill up is based on how many seconds have passed, not on how much water is in the cup.
Mm, yeah, that's a good one.
And
Yeah.
things like what the earliest memory, there's something about like rhythm and numbers and music um, in my brain conditioning. When I was younger, I remember riding in the back seat of my parents' car, driving along the highway. I would click my teeth to the rhythm of the electric poles that are along the side of the road.
Yeah. If only we could remember some of the crazy things we did as kids. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Compulsive stuff too, some of it. I had to read the street signs. Yeah.
What do you mean?
When we were driving, if wherever we went, if I saw a street sign, I had to read what was on the street sign.
Hmm.
Yeah. I couldn't just notice it as a street sign. I had to read what was on it, what it was saying.
Hmm.
I don't remember how old I was. I can remember the car I was in, though. It was an old Holden. But I don't remember. I could probably work it out from that, what age I was. Would have been young. But yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the things. I actually wrote a song about that, or I got AI to write a song about that, but I modified it a bit and so on about when I was young, I was just totally blown away by the way the light came through the window and trying to, you know, things spoke to me that didn't seem to touch anybody else.
Hmm.
Things that were just as young as I can remember. I wasn't anything like any of the other, well, the way I thought the other kids were, at least. I don't know how they really were. It was the beginning of believing that the world inside my head was way better, preferable than the world out there. The
Hmm.
world out there was essentially cruel, but the world in my head wasn't. So I lived in books from as young as I can remember. I could read a book while I walked to school. I could walk and read at the same time. No worries.
How did that shift over time? Maybe what I'm getting at is the the thought that came up for me, the story that I'm telling is that those books were an escape from
Oh yeah, yeah, for
the
sure.
pain of the real world.
Mm.
And that feels like a very different Vince than the one that I know now. And so I'm curious about like how to,
Well, interestingly, since the initial shift, I haven't read a single book. For 15 years, I haven't read a book.
hmm,
I've looked at books, of course, but I even bought an ebook about a month ago, and I think I've read about 2 pages of it, and it just dropped out of whatever. It's still open on my computer, but I haven't looked at it. Well, I think it is. It's had a couple of reboots since then. Maybe it's shut down, but there it is. And that was I've forgotten his name now. But a man that I hold in esteem as well. There was said to my wife tonight. There was a thing on TV. It was a bloke a scientist giving a talk. Or a doctor he was, not a scientist. I don't know what he was a doctor of, but he was giving a talk about Australia and uh, a lot of things. And I said to my wife, I said, "Oh, this guy's really interesting. I love it when people agree with me." You know, he was saying the same thing about our relationship with America and all the rest of it, stuff that I've been going on about. And I just I just like that confirmation bias again. Beautiful.
yeah.
Uh,
Hearing you talk about the books reminds me of my experience where 5 to 10 years ago, um, I really enjoyed the escape of a good novel. And I've had a really hard time. Uh, like there's the part of me that's like, oh, get a good book and sit down and read it.
yeah. But finding one,
But well, even when I find like I'll sit down and start reading and it because there's a whole lot less that I feel the need to escape from. The
yeah.
book doesn't provide the the comfort and nourishment that it did before.
Mm,
And so I'll start reading and I'll be like, why am I reading? Like
Yeah.
this isn't what I remember
Yeah.
reading feeling like, because it felt so good to turn everything off in my world,
Mm.
in my real world, and escape into the story and get consumed by it. And that doesn't the difference between uh, my real life and the fantasy in the book uh, was very different before. Like it was very comforting to escape into a book, and
Yeah.
I guess I don't know. It feels like now that the difference between those two worlds isn't as big anymore, so the book feels less. It's not a,
Mm.
it's no longer uh well, it's not any less safe and comfortable than it was before. It's just no longer do I feel stress and
Yeah.
like the danger of my real life. So um I just haven't read that much. However, I watch a ton of TV.
Mm. Yeah, me too. I watch a
But
lot with my wife, and a lot of it's absolutely mindless stuff. But you know what? I kind of enjoy it, the mindless stuff. I can watch it, and you could ask me 10 minutes later what it was about, and I couldn't tell you. But it was okay. It's like I
right.
like that. But I do like a good science fiction, and I'm a bit critical about what I consider a good. But what I consider a good is one that makes me think, one
Hmm.
that offers possibilities that I hadn't thought of before. So there's some interesting ones. We're watching one at the moment. I think it's called Pluribus, but it's spelt
Oh,
PLUR1 bus.
yep.
I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I've only watched a few episodes, but that's a really, really that's got the mind working quite hard about possibilities. And when I discuss that with my wife, it's amazing how we see what's going on differently. You
Hmm.
know. And she's really skeptical. I think about that. She's saying, "Oh, they're putting it on. They're acting. They're not. It's not real." And I'm saying, "Well, in the plot, it's real. They actually feel that way. And nobody would feel that way." So, yeah. So
Do
we're
you
having quite different ways of looking at it. Yeah.
do you enjoy the experience of something? I'm kind of maybe making up a story about parallels between um, awakening, where it's like the experience of uh, a firmly held belief or thought pattern being broken, where you're like, oh, that is not what I thought it was. And like the insight into realizing some of the tricks of our mind. Is
Mm.
there some parallels there with like watching good science fiction where it allows you to have a like short circuit or something break in your brain that you hadn't thought of before? It was like, oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
feeling of insight or
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, who's actually sat down and thought about what would happen if mind melding, which is the theme of this series so far, that everybody shares everybody else's thoughts, so everybody can do everything because they can get in an aeroplane and fly it because they're sharing the mind of a pilot, and so on. And the ramifications of that are endless, just amazing, absolutely endless. And there's the whole world is now sharing their mind, except for half a dozen people who are not.
hmm,
And the story's centered around one su- super skeptic woman who's just wants to fix everything because she sees them all as zombies, but they're not at all zombie-like. They just know what everybody else knows.
Huh.
Amazing. It's a great series. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, 'cause it gets me
I've heard
excited,
good
as you
things
can
about that.
see.
I
Yeah,
haven't.
yeah.
I got uh
But Kurt
recently
Vonnegut was
sucked
like that
into.
too. His stuff always kind of got me excited because it was very
Hmm,
much a case of possibilities. Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. I just feel lucky that I'm built in such a way that I really enjoy life compared to the incredible suffering that was there as a kid and less deep, but certainly suffering was there right through. But I still enjoyed life as well. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, but I did. I enjoyed life as well as suffering. I did both kind of thing. But I'm built in such a way that yeah, I get excited and I do enjoy. Life has been really good. Yeah, I'm so lucky. Yeah, damn lucky that I wasn't born in Sudan or born in Gaza or born in Ukraine
Hmm.
or whatever. Or that I developed melancholy. I was talking to a fellow this morning who was very melancholic, and oh, wow, that would be so hard. Yeah.
Hmm. You're reminding me of. I mean, this wasn't even that long ago for me, but the suddenly thinking about the Chinese farmer again, where I was really depressed five 5 years ago, 4 years ago, um, to the point of, at least relative to my life's experience, I was broken, rock bottom,
Wow.
and but um, I I believe, um, I don't know that I would have the perspective of my current experience that I do today if it hadn't been for that, because it
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so with that,
everything
there's
was,
appreciation, isn't there?
yeah, everything was torn down to the
Mm.
point where I was so overwhelmed that I didn't have the capacity to care about anything anymore. And in a lot of ways, I don't feel like, in a lot of ways, that's the same today, but it's like a different type of relationship and caring to my responsibilities and my relationships and the world around me. And so it's like I didn't completely, um, in those moments, it was, um, despair, and I don't care about anything or anyone. I don't have the capacity to. I'm completely drained of all zest for anything. Um, but that helped me see how much attachment I had to everything. That's what broke, really, is the,
Mm,
or at least that's the story I've got, is that um, because I didn't have the capacity to care about all the things that had suddenly called, like there was so much suffering that my only uh the only medicine was just to give up because I was so attached to all of those things.
mm,
I'm grateful that it's like the attachment didn't come back, and I learned I learned to uh I guess maybe gradually just um appreciate experiencing. I didn't know that at the time, but I guess this is how I would describe it today, is that hmm, my brain just stopped. The word stopped.
mm, mm. Yeah, I can remember that I suffered, but I can't remember what it felt like. You know,
Hmm.
I would certainly describe a lot of my previous experiences being depressed, but I can't remember what it feels like. It's just, but I probably would have said that even if it was recent. You know, it's like I'm so hot now, I can't remember what it was like to be cold this morning. I can just remember that it was cold for a moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what just popped into my head was that 4 years ago it was nothing matters. What's the
Mm.
point? And now it's nothing matters.
Yeah,
What's the
yeah,
point? This
yeah.
is great.
It's amazing,
It's
isn't it? It's the same thing, but it's totally different. Yeah.
yeah,
Only the same words. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And I would imagine everybody would say that, you know, when they wake up, they would say that their suffering played a major part in that, that it was a big part of what's motivated them or what was just one of the conditions involved in it, but it was a big one. Uh, so in a sense, if I put a story over the top of it, I'm grateful for all of that. It seemed it had to happen.
Yeah.
I've I've caught myself a couple of times feeling apologetic that I feel so good around people who are feeling shit.
Hmm.
That's a bit of a crazy one. I mean, I see it, and it's a bit of a joke, but at the same time, yeah, wow, it's like phew, the heaviness of that compared to the lightness of this is immense, or the way I imagine it is. Yeah. Hmm. All right.
Something
Well,
you.
yeah.
Oh, it's fine. We
There
can
you go. Go on.
we can break. Oh, just curious about how you handle those situations.
Be more specific. What situations?
Like when you're in that. Um, is this more a like general community or world where you see at a distance other people suffering and you not, or a closer
No,
relationship?
no, I don't. Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? Because I don't ever experience somebody else's suffering at a distance, even if it's on TV. If it's showing the
Yeah.
usual shit on the news, it's close. I feel it close. Um, but of course, I'm only feeling my own experience, well, my own version of my imagining about what it's like for them. But that's a
Mm.
story again about it. But there is that experience of uh, feeling. It's kind of crazy because it's like I can feel a kind of a suffering, but at the same time, uh, a, a wonderful um, re relief maybe about not being there, not feeling that. So it's like I'm only feeling it in my imagination, but I'm really feeling it. But it's not mine. It's just there. It's uh, this sounds I'm waffling. Um, I can see suffering happening that I don't relate to as suffering now. The story that they are suffering, yes, that can happen as a story, but the I'm kind of detached from the fact that there's a lot of that in the world.
Mm.
And by detached, I don't mean in denial, but it has an objective feel about it, and it's almost like I can let it in or not. I can talk about the suffering of, say, the people in Gaza now and not feel much at all about it, or I can allow myself to connect with it and actually experience some my own version of suffering, how it, obviously trivial compared to them, but nevertheless I can allow it in and feel it. But that's not happened a lot lately. It's been much more objective. And it's got something to do with that it appears like there's nothing I can do about it.
Mm. When the I think you were mentioning that it also appears um, and occurs in relationships that you're much closer to. If that happens, how do you show up in a way that isn't oh, that isn't in a way where the other person or where you're coming across as like, why are you worried about that? Why are you suffering? There's nothing to worry about. Or this isn't a problem.
Oh no,
Or
no,
like
no.
how do you show up for them in a way that is
Yeah,
helpful? Uh,
I wrote a story about this actually. I wrote a couple of stories about this that'll come out next week, I think. I don't remember exactly where they're up to, but
hmm,
yeah. And one of them I headed, do I need somebody else to wake up to have connection with them? And as I investigated that, I came to the conclusion that no, connection is a rather interesting one, and it's a bit theoretical, but an exchange of presence is all it takes to not be lonely, to be involved and whatever. And this is a description from the outside to talk about it like that. And one of the things that again, a description from the outside afterwards, not, it's not, I'm not aware of it so much when it's happening, but if I use memory and think about how it happened, what I discover is that, again, just by nature, I'm interested in other people. I'm interested in their experience. So if they're going to tell me about their suffering, I'm interested in it, where it's coming from, what it's about, how it feels for them. What, I don't know. I just, I just keep asking questions. Not, I don't do that, but that happens. I just want to find out more and more and more about it. And that as I would also just describe it from the outside as a story about presence. I'm just fully there for them because they're more interesting than I am. No, that's a stupid thing to say. I mean, it's just that I, I find them interesting. You know, people, what people's experience are. So by being, and so you could describe that as being present. Well, you might say I'm a good listener, but I don't do
Yeah.
listening. It just happens, you know. And I have, because, this is a good one, because of the waking up thing, it simply isn't appropriate to tell people about that frequently. Most people are
Mm.
not interested in whatever, and that they're going to see you as belonging to some religion or cult or something or whatever, you know. So it's like, I don't talk about it. So I'm not interested in talking about myself. You know, I do that
Yeah.
a lot here in the groups, but essentially if I'm out there with people, I'm interested in what's going on for them. And so
Right.
that's how I turn up, but I don't do turning up. It just happens like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that resonates. I'd spent way too much of my life thinking that uh, other people wanted me to help them fix their problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
With my kids,
Well,
like,
yeah.
well, not that they might not have been interested in the help, but I assumed that was the only way to approach a situation. Particularly, I think it came up most with my kids. When they would have
Mm,
a problem, I would have a solution.
yep, yep,
And I would
yep.
assume that all they wanted me to do was tell them that this is how you solve this problem. But uh, yeah, realizing instead of that being my default is um, much more of like uh, not offering solutions or not telling them that something isn't, you shouldn't be thinking about this way, or this isn't a problem. This is not something to get so worked up
Yeah,
about.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
and not going the other perspective of like, yes, this is something to be worked up about. You're absolutely correct when I don't actually believe that
yeah,
inside, but
yeah.
just being present and helping,
Yep. And
not not
they
necessarily even just
work out
helping
their
them, just
own solutions when you're present like that, I
yeah,
think. That often
just
happens. Yeah.
connecting,
Mm,
like listening. I hear you. Here's what it sounds like you're going through.
yep.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just
that
checking to
is what
see
it
if you got
is.
it right. Yeah. Yep.
Hmm. This could turn into a whole nother half an hour. And I know you had mentioned a little bit ago about wrapping
Yeah.
up for the night, and
It's when,
Speaking of my daughter, she's coming home from college today for Thanksgiving break, and so
okay.
I've
All
got
right. It's Thanksgiving. You guys, we don't,
yeah.
we pay a bit of lip service to it, but we don't do it big time like you guys. Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, she I got to get ready for her to come home.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's
Good day around here.
20 past midnight here, so I'm going off to
Oh,
bed. Yeah.
all right.
Mm.
Well, thanks for the time. It's been great.
Oh, look, you're good, and people will get stuff out of it. That's good value. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I got an hour one-on-one time with Vince. This has been this is
Yeah, well,
good.
I got an hour one-on-one with Jeremy. There you go. Yeah, thank
Well, have a
you.
good one.
Yeah, you
See you
too.
next
All
time.
right. Good night.